Chevrolet has long used the SS Monkia to denote its highest performance vehicles. SS in this case standing for Super Sport.
This is the Blazer EV SS in all-wheel drive trim, the most powerful variant of the Blazer EV you can buy. But does SS really transform this rather run-of-the-mill family SUV? Or is it just a way to get more money out of you? We have driven an awful lot of the General Motors Ultium-based vehicles, Kate.
Yeah, this is my third, I think, possibly fourth. We seem to have driven basically every flavour that they come in.
I think the only vehicles we haven't driven that are Ultium-based at this point, we haven't driven the GMC Sierra Denali EV. Massive pickup. I know you're very disappointed about that. We'll come to the interruption that we just got in a second. We also haven't driven any of the Cadillac models yet.
No.
So the Lyric, the Optique, and the, oh my goodness, how large is this? Otherwise known as the IQ. So let's talk about what this car is, because it's very easily confused between this car and the Equinox.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges for GM is getting kind of brand distinction or model distinction for the brand, because they are very much of a muchness. So the Equinox is slightly smaller than this. Yes.
So the Blazer EV has a little bit extra space in terms of luggage, a little bit extra space in terms of interior volume, I think. But they're basically built on the same GM BEV3 platform, which is the Ultium-based platform. This particular variant of the Blazer EV is the SS variant, which stands for Super Sport, as I understand it. But I have an issue with anything that has SS in it, for obvious reasons. I mean, for someone of my age.
It's always been a little bit of an unfortunate nomenclature, particularly for more, I think, for Europeans.
Yeah. But apparently SS does stand for Super Sport. I think it actually stands for silly sausage. Because you can be a silly sausage behind the wheel of this. We're going to come to that a bit later on. But let's talk about the interior, and we'll talk about the driving experiences a little bit later on.
Yeah.
What first hits you when you get behind the wheel, Kate?
I think maybe I came into this thinking, well, it's the GM one, it'll feel a bit cheaper than the Honda, than the Acura. And what I actually find is that for the most part, it feels better to me than them. I think it feels a little bit more honestly what it is. certainly got pretensions to being a muscle car from the outside. It's mostly very few rattles, door speaker excluded, which does rattle. But it feels actually pretty well put together, and I think the materials choices are well chosen.
So obviously, where this sits in the lineup is you have the Blazer EV LT at the base end, and I've actually got the price here on my little piece of paper here. It starts at about $46,000 for the entry level, the front wheel drive. There are multiple different variants of the Blazer EV, and this, the SS all-wheel drive, sits right at the top, and it has a price of just shy of 62 grand. So with that, you are going to get a nicer, more appointed interior. You get these fancy seats with a whole load of adjustability in them for lumbar support and back support. So when we were filming the rollers and I got behind the wheel for the first time, I discovered that I had to move the lumbar support slightly out. Normally I retract it all the way in. I don't like lumbar support. But in this car, without it forward slightly, it was so uncomfortable I didn't want to drive it, which was kind of interesting.
So I think I've actually had a slightly different experience. Normally when I get into the vehicle driven by my erstwhile colleague here, it's 20 minutes of me futzing with the seat because we sit in completely different positions.
We do.
But this time I got in and within a minute or two I had it somewhere where I was like, oh yeah, that's okay, I can live with that, and I'll just, fettle it as we go. And since then, I find it a bit difficult to tell, because we have had 3 consecutive badge engineered variants of this vehicle, which I'm sure will make many people in different companies angry, but that's what they are. And this particular flavour, I think it's actually the most comfortable seat of the 3 for me.
So you're talking about the Honda Prologue, you're talking about the Acura ZDX Type S, and then you're talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah. And as I was alluding to a little bit earlier, the higher end the car, the more expensive the price tag, generally, the more adjustable and luxury oriented the seats are. And I want to bring a little bit of a contrast here, because one of the cars that really, I think, cross-shops very well against this is the Kia EV6 GT.
Which does entirely the opposite.
Exactly.
In my favourite way.
And it's interesting, they almost have an identical sticker price. But and this is true a little bit for the Mustang Mach-E, although the Mustang Mach-E is a little bit more like this car in terms of adjustability for the driver. But it feels like the Kia EV6 GT has focused all of that money on the thing that makes it go and stop. But this one feels like a little bit less of a hot hatch and more of a, I need this to go quickly when I want it to go quickly. And that's how this interior feels. Obviously, this is fairly standard across the entire Ultium lineup with this dual screen setup here. I laugh because the screen protector is still on the speedometer. I don't know if you'd noticed that.
I hadn't actually.
The screen protector is still on there. This is a massive 15-inch touchscreen display. Like the rest of the Ultium Chevrolet lineup, no CarPlay, no Android Auto. You must use the Google-based built-in system.
Yes, and then that means that if you have apps that you want to use, 1, they have to be available for the vehicle, and 2, you probably have to buy them again, even if you bought them for your phone, if you have an Android phone. Obviously, if you have an iOS phone, you're also out of luck.
Something I also think is worth noting here, though, Kate, is the fact that if you are driving one of these cars on a temporary basis, there's a security risk if you're having to use a built-in navigation system like this instead of just pairing your phone with the car and then removing or forgetting the phone at the end of your period.
I mean, I think there's that aspect, but also if it's a family vehicle and you have kids and they decide they want to install other apps that cost money, you may not realise until too late and you've got whatever installed. So, yeah, I also think from a safety perspective, I find it uncomfortable. I'm not convinced it's a good feature. And yes, this is no more distracting than that, but I found that I ended up having to check my phone because it's not linked. And that is more of a concern, I think, than the concern of this is distracting because it has a mirrored version of what's on your phone.
Right. I think that the other issue that I've had with this is that the Google Voice interaction in here is absolutely terrible. So I'm going to activate the system now using the standard command. So if you are someone who has an Android device in your house, now is the time to either pause the video or put up with whatever I make your phone do. So I can say, okay, Google, navigate to coffee.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, Google, navigate to nearby coffee shops.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's been my experience of it.
Okay.
I actually said, okay, Google, and then never mind. I gave it an address and it didn't manage it. Like, it listed the address as navigate to this address and then said, I don't know what you mean.
Navigate to Black Rock Coffee.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Navigate to Starbucks Coffee.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Navigate.
To get directions to a destination, say something like, get directions to the nearest pharmacy, or take me to the closest gas station.
Navigate to a coffee shop.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh my.
So eventually I just typed it in, but...
And don't you think that that is more distracting?
Oh, yes.
So I could say, for example, I could use the name of my virtual assistant and I could say, hey, find me a nearby coffee shop. Or I could nearly just say, I need coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I can literally tell my phone's virtual assistant, I need coffee. And sometimes it doesn't do a very good job, but it normally just goes, oh, here are some nearby coffee shops.
Mm-hmm.
Here they are rated by whatever. I could even say, find me a nearby coffee shop that isn't insert name of brand. So if I'm not wanting to patronize a particular brand of coffee, or I'd rather find an independent coffee shop, I can do that. And it lets me. That's a very different experience. I want to talk about these AC vents because they're ridiculous. It is something straight out of a 1950s Corvair.
Yes. Well, this is the thing. This is the really interesting thing. And I was off camera talking to our DP about this because I gave them a ride in this morning and we were just having a chat. And this vehicle, on the outside, it is presenting a particular face, that of being basically a 1980s, 90s muscle car, but in electric form.
Except it doesn't start, it's not stanced quite right.
It's not quite, but it's trying. You can feel it going, I'm trying to get this sense memory from you and be like, ah. And you get in the car and you have these and you're like, okay. And then the whole rest of the vehicle, with the exception of the bright orange trim, is very much like an Scenario. It's like, okay, this is a very pretty mild-mannered interior.
Right.
And it's such a dichotomy. It's like, you know, your dysphoria coat that you're wearing to make yourself look big.
It is very bizarre. I mean, the stitching is high quality. It's well put together.
Oh, yeah.
I still have a real bugbear with the power button for the center console being right next to the volume button, because I do tend to stable my hand while twisting the knob. I'll put my hand on top, and I think a lot of people do that. It is a horrible place to put that power button. I would much rather that they'd hidden it actually in the button itself, a bit like they had on the Ford Mustang Mach-E and also the F-150 Lightning. These AC vents have no need to be this massive. Also, no need to be this massive is the cavernous deck There, just in front of the cup holders, there's this slidable cover. You've got 2 USB-C sockets.
Yes, it's very convenient.
And
if
you
need
can,
anything.
I mean, you can get up to your elbow, quite literally. And I know where your mind is going, don't even. But it's very large.
That's what she said.
And it feels a little bit over the top. But, you know, if you like having storage, the same thing is true here. The massive amount of space here. You've got 2 one USB-C socket here. You've also got your 12-volt socket here. Plenty of places to plug things in. The rear seats also have USB-C sockets. They have their own climate vents. That's become de rigueur for all vehicles today. And because the Blazer is quite a large vehicle,
Oh, yeah.
there's plenty of rear seat space.
Yeah.
Flat floor, so you can fit 5 people in for short trips. You could probably do, take 3 kids on a fairly long distance trip. And because of the rear space, you've got a decent amount of cargo area in the rear. I did write that down earlier, and now I can't remember where I put it.
The editor will come in and put the correct volumes
Yes.
on screen.
Right
If we are wrong.
now, yeah.
It suffers from that same thing that is my perpetual complaint with this platform and the people who have spec'd it, which is that they've made the wheels huge. The front is not terribly well packaged.
Right.
And so you end up with a car that's much longer than it needs to be, and also has to be that long to give you the interior space that makes it fit in this segment. And that's my perpetual complaint. I say that of every variant of this vehicle that we've driven. I would like them to have smaller, more efficient wheels. And I understand why, from the characteristics of trying to sell the vehicle, they want the wheels to look proportional to the size of the vehicle, and they want big wheels because that's what's sexy right now. But for me, it's a compromise that I don't feel is worth it.
I would like to just throw one more thing before we switch over, because I know this is something that you are very aware of. And that is that this car has a rear wiper.
It does.
A little itty bitty, tiny whiny
wiper.
tail. Let's talk about level 2 driver assistance systems and the Supercruise that exists on this car.
Yeah, and I think, as we've seen with the other versions of this vehicle that we have driven, Supercruise is mostly pretty competent. It mostly keeps you in your lane. It does automatic lane changes, which are mostly safe.
It vibrates
And-
your bum when it automatically lane changes, which is very disconcerting if you don't tell someone that it's about to do that.
It does like to get intimate with your butt. However, I will say that, as with the other vehicles of this platform, and in fact all 3 of the cars that I've had, it has a somewhat optimistic opinion about its abilities.
Right.
There's one particular corner on I-5 that in all 3 vehicles, all 3 of them have come up to that corner and gone, I think it's time to change lane now.
Yeah.
And the car is moving to the left and attempting to change into the centre lane to the right. And it gets about halfway across, and then it goes, oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then it just sort of hovers in between the lanes, sort of going right a bit, then left a bit, then right a bit. And eventually I'm just like, other people are here, sweetie, we need to move across now.
The Supercruise is reasonably competent on the freeway.
Yeah.
It does sometimes make poor choices about overtaking, but that's the difference between assisted lane keep assist versus I want you to be in this lane so we can carry on going along faster. And I think all cars that have the ability to suddenly change lanes and make progress do make poor choices. I've seen it across the board.
Oh yes, I mean this is not a problem that's isolated to Supercruise, and I have not as yet driven comma with the automatic lane changes because my car doesn't have sufficient technology for that, but I would assume that it suffers from a similar problem, which is that it's basically judging things based on a camera and some blind spot sensing, and it's not really getting that car is coming up kind of quick, maybe I shouldn't do this. It also lacks the ability to make the kind of judgment call about, well, I know I need to get off in 2 junctions time. Do I really want to move into the left lane to overtake this truck that's probably going to take too long? Maybe not. Those kind of judgment calls really are still the purview of the human behind the wheel.
One of our criticisms with the Acura ZDX Type S was that it felt heavy and it didn't really sneak into corners particularly well. That is not a criticism I have here. This feels much more planted and substantially lighter.
It definitely hasn't made me feel nauseous in quite the same way. And this one is only. This weighs less. It's 5,730 pounds. That's 2,599 kilos.
And that's lighter because the battery is only 102 kilowatt hours usable, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, gives you about 303 miles of EPA range.
In theory. I mean, I would argue with that. You said you've seen something similar. I would say that I drove the car from my home to here at the speed limit, not going particularly enthusiastically, not pushing it. And it did, 140 miles on roughly 50% of the battery. And that gets you 280 of your Earth miles.
It's got a very good head-up display.
It does, although I had a couple of times where it just weirdly switched itself to minimum brightness, which is effectively off.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work out why, but it's fairly easy to turn it back on through this head unit and turn it back up. And then bright, clear. I can actually see it even with my polarizing sunglasses on.
I can just about see it with my polarizing glasses on. It wasn't great, but if you close this panoramic roof, which obviously we can't right now because there's a camera attached to it, but I would normally drive this with the roof closed, and then you see it a little bit more clearly because you don't have sun coming in from above. I would say that the dashboard is lovely. I really like the dashboard on this car. It's very clear, the numbers are very easy to see, you've got your power meter on the right, you've got your speedometer on the left, it's entirely customizable, you can change how you want to do it. And the steering wheel gives you just the right amount of feedback. The other thing I really like, and I'm going to start pushing it a little bit here, is that this car has the Regen On Demand paddle that made the Chevrolet Bolt such an amazing car. And it's very easy to drive along roads like this using that single pedal mode. Gives you really good regen braking, and it makes the whole driving experience so much more pleasant. It feels really dialed in, and I want to highlight how GM has really capitalized on its Regen On Demand mode, and I think it's done a really good job.
I expected the Honda Prologue to be the most kind of plainly sorted vehicle of the three. I thought it would be kind of prosaic, but very nicely done. The Acura, I was expecting a lot more performance, and yet I've actually ended up with this being the one. This is not my favourite car in the world, but of the three, if I had to pick one, it would be this one, because its driving dynamics are actually much better than the other two.
I mean, I haven't really driven it hard, and I'm going to let you into a little secret. I'm not feeling the greatest today. I woke up feeling a little nauseous. We've had a busy weekend. But I would point out that driving this car in regular, normal, everyday mode is not difficult. So a lot of performance EVs make it difficult for you to drive it like a normal human being. I feel like you can drive this in stealth mode, And then you can just go 3, 2, 1. And then you have all the kilowatts,
No, you have something else.
all the torques.
No, you have wow.
You have, oh. If ever there's a backronym that's come along and has made me go, oh, God, you have a very desperate marketing department, it would be that.
Yes.
So wow means,
Wide open what?
which is just a ridiculous conceit anyway, because they're trying to tie the idea of a wide open throttle to an EV drivetrain, which, you know, my spicy brain goes, but they are not the same.
I mean, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick, but it's a slightly sad one.
I know it's very naughty for us to do this, but I just wanted to show the turning circle. It's not bad. Not the best turning circle.
It's not the
I've had.
best, but it's not bad.
And it's a livable car. I think that's what I keep coming back to. And I know that GM wanted us to drive this. We got a message from our press fleet folks saying, hey, GM wants you to drive this, and normally that means GM thinks we'll like it. And I don't see this as a performance car. I see this as an everyday driver that has performance capabilities.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's a fair summation of where it sits.
You know, it's not a car. And yes, silly sausage, because, you know, you can go from 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds or something like that. And it's
And
got
you-
the 6-pop Brembo brakes. It can stop really quickly,
It's got 615 horsepower up a little bit. It's got 881 newton meters of torque.
which is not bad.
That's 650 pound-feet, just in case you were wondering.
But it's not a car that makes you go, I must get in this and take it to the track.
It is funny that it doesn't make
It's not
you do
like the
that.
Benz or BMW performance models, which make you at every turn go, I'm going to drive this like a bat out of hell. It is instead a vehicle that makes you go, I can move this if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
In finishing this review, Kate, before we talk about our final thoughts, I wanted to draw your attention to the under bonnet area, because obviously this car does not have a frunk.
No. It does, however, have a faux ICE engine.
I mean, they really worked very hard to make it look as internal combustion and as non-threatening to established wrench turners as possible. This looks a bit like an engine block if you squint at it from a distance. I also want to note, though, there are mount points here which you could use to install a small slimline frunk. And there's enough space here to have a little cubby hole to put your charge cable and other stuff.
Yeah, that would have been nice. It's not there, though.
There's also no insulation on the hood, which I find very shocking.
Yeah, you normally get some drum resistant stuff on there, and there isn't. But that kind of goes with the way certain other things are cheaper than you might hope.
I mean, this car is built in Mexico, and the quality of it is generally very, very good. There are some interesting design choices. Before I shut the hood, I do want to call out the fact that this car has got less than, it's just over 2,000 miles, so less than a few weeks worth of use as a press car.
Yeah,
And it's already got the mouse dropping.
it does, which suggests that someone thinks that the cables might be tasty.
And that is going to be an issue long term for anyone who has this. Let's also talk about these lights. These lights here, are now pretty much standard across all higher trim variants of any EV. It's the all the way across lights. They do something interesting though when parked up. So these lights glow according to how full the car is as you're charging. There goes the nuclear bomber. And we also have, you know, that same standard closed off brick front end that has become kind of de rigueur for all of these performance SUV crossover-esque cars.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do want to say something about these lights, which is that I'm all for indications of your state of charge that you can see without an app. Because quite often, if you don't have an app, you come up to your car and you're like, oh, how full is it? It's a bit of a pain, you have to get in. However, they are on all the time that it's charging until it's full.
Right, and I think you can turn them off. I think there is a button to turn it off in the menu somewhere, but we don't get a huge amount of time with cars to play with them.
And I genuinely don't really understand the point of that. Like, if it was I've approached with the key and I turn that level of charge status indicator back on, fine. But one that just sits there and does that the whole time...
It's a bit of a target, isn't it?
It's a bit of a target, particularly in our current era. It's also, I think... Look, I don't do astronomy, but many of the fans of the channel I would suspect do, given the people that we've met from the channel. I think that's a pretty fair bet.
And light pollution is a big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is just pointless light pollution for no particular reason.
And it takes a long time to charge, 11 hours.
Yes.
On a level 2 home charging station. For fast charging, because this is not a dual level Ultium pack, so it doesn't have 800 volt capability for charging, it's limited to 400 volts. And we actually did a video, a couple of months ago now, talking about which cars are 400 and which ones are 800. And Ultium is weird because it's a 400 volt platform that can mimic being 800 just for charging, except only if they are double layer battery packs. This is a single layer battery pack. So it's limited to 190 kilowatts, if memory serves correctly, for DC fast charging, which is adequate.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable. It's not a low rate of fast charging, but there are cars that can charge quicker.
But we need to kind of address the elephant in the room, right? If you buy this in this trim, the silly sausage trim, you're going to get 102 kilowatt hours, which according to the EPA will get you 303 miles.
It's not actually very much.
It's not very efficient.
No, but that's these wheels.
22-inch wheels.
22-inch wheels, honking great wide 22-inch wheels that occupy of the front end, which is probably part of the reason you don't get a proper frunk.
You also have quite a chunky boy here in terms of weight. Granted, the cabin is quite spacious. You can fit 5 adults in it. You could have this car if you had teenagers. And to be fair, at 61, 62-ish grand, this is a car you're not going to be able to afford until your kids are teenagers.
Well, yeah.
And maybe even not then.
This is more of a dinky car, but not because it's not.
This is not a car that you buy if you want to be efficient and environmentally friendly. This is a car that you buy if you want an ICE vehicle that doesn't have an engine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the target market.
Yeah.
And we can't criticise GM and every other major automaker for flooding this segment. There are so many choices. I'm going to start with the one that everyone tells me I always don't include, Tesla Model Y. We've got this. We've got the Acura, the ZDX Type S. We've got the Honda Prologue. We've got the Mustang Mach-E, if we want to go with the performance variant, GT. Performance or the Rally. We've also got the EV6 GT. We've got the Ioniq 5N. They're all in this same ballpark. And that's the problem. This is a good car.
But what does it offer that they don't?
And what is missing is a bigger question. I like driving this car. I didn't love driving this car. And when I say I liked driving it, I found it inoffensive.
Yeah, it's not a vehicle that you want to write home about how awesome it is. It's not a vehicle that you take out and it says, spank me harder, let me go.
Right.
It's a vehicle that does the job really adequately.
If I turned up at an Enterprise or another rental shop and they gave me one of these for a week, I'd be like, okay. I wouldn't be in a bad mood. I wouldn't be grouching about it. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can drive this like a normal human being.
Mm-hmm.
I can put my foot down and it will get me out of trouble, thanks to that stupidly large amount of power under the hood. But I can drive it like a normal everyday car. I've got regen paddle braking. I can do my whole one pedal drive thing. Great. The seat's reasonably comfortable once I've figured out how to get the lumbar support to where I want it. Fine. Nice open airy cabin to some extent. I don't necessarily like the height of that center console, but that's just a personal bug that I have with all cars that have that. I could rent one of these and live with it for a week or two, or if I dropped off my Bolt, I could have it for a week or two while they fix the Bolt.
When you get your loaner from GM.
But earlier on in our review, I talked about how I didn't necessarily feel that this was a generational wow jump. Okay, slight pun there with the wow mode, but this car doesn't have a killer feature that makes me excited. It's not like the Ioniq 5N or even the Kia EV6 GT, where you get behind the wheel and you go, okay, I get what you're trying to do. This feels special. I didn't personally like the way the Ioniq 5N was set up, but I love the way the EV6 GT was set up. It felt like a special car.
Yeah.
And I know we keep going back to that car again and again and again, but it was so transformative, I think.
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
market.
it really manages to do something that only for me the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo had done, which is it managed to build a car that is an EV that drives in a way that is inspiring and exciting and really makes you feel like a driver.
And gives you the confidence to push it. This is a different beast. It's a big, heavy car that can get out of its way, but it's a big American car. It's kind of exceptionalism at its best. Go America! Like that license plate we saw earlier on, right? This is telling American consumers, you want this, you want to drive this is the car for you, and a lot of American buyers will go with it. But I think a lot of countries, a lot of people around the world will look at this car and go, but where's its soul? And I want a car with soul. Earlier on I was kind of vibing about how this didn't feel revolutionary, and I keep thinking back to the car that we've got with us today as a camera car. A 2017 Chevrolet Bolt EV that has nearly 140,000 miles on the clock. That would absolutely spank this in the corners because it's smaller and more nimble and has the battery down low and doesn't have anywhere near the power that this thing has. I think this has got about twice the power of the Bolt.
Yeah,
It's
it would be
getting
about
that way.
Yeah.
It's a little less because the Bolt is like 250 and this is 4 something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the Bolt has that capability to chuck around a corner to make you go, oh yes, and you get out with a grin on your face. And I know this because our DP, every time they have one of these cars to go and film with, gets back and gets in their Bolt and drives home, and I get a message invariably either later that evening or I speak to them the next day and they go, I really miss my Bolt.
And well, and this is something that we've spoken about before, is that I get back in my Nero, and on the days when the aircon is working, which it is not still right now, I just am very pleased to be back in it. It's a very competent car. It's not quite as chuckable as the Bolt, but it also is still chuckable, and it is a car designed for driving. And I know, like, for a lot of people, a car is not something that you want to do that with. They just want a vehicle that will be an appliance that will get them from school, get them to work, take the shopping, take them on the odd road trip now and then. Bingo. They have hit this, but they haven't hit it in a way that I feel will do enormously well in Europe, because that's not the way that European drivers drive.
I mean, this model's not going to be sold in Europe,
no, but this platform,
yeah,
I think is going to struggle in that market.
And over here, GM is facing a lot of tough competition. As I said earlier, what does this car have that the others don't? The badge. The badge.
It has wing mirrors that creak when they open.
I don't think that's a feature. But I also think that this is missing some of the killer features. It's missing 800 volt charging. If you have kids and you want to road trip with your kids, believe me, I've road tripped in a Nissan Leaf with kids before. The faster you can get back on the road, the happier they are and the less stressed you are. And also, the lighter your wallet becomes the longer you spend charging, because your kids get bored and they need a wee-wee, and then invariably they want a snack. But if you're in the car, you're in the car. Sorry, you have to wait another hour until we stop again. Confessions of a parent. You know, this doesn't give me that, and I'm trying to think of something positive and vibey to say. It's a great car, but also, it doesn't excite me.
That's what she said.
That's my joke. Damn it, Dwight.
Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page, down below, on our blog, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the link below. We've got options available across a wide range of different price points, from just $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: M. Wessie, Les Magnar, MX Flounder, NYTMR, Thrill Nelly, Hernan Giraldo, Christopher Bloodworth, Eric Rouvier, Ronnie E. Bickers Jr., Brett Mason, George Piney, Mega XLR, Robert Coghill, Peter Bodica, Gary Wood, Dessa Bird Traveller, Tim van der Loeng, Mike Clark, Kyle Olin, Rob Hutchinson, Tony Ladig, Chris Nichols, Tempus, Adrian Atwater, Doug Lloyd, Mitch Rasner, and Brad. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. Address on our website. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you're someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate link so we get the commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce burnouts, we are being a little freer with our release days, but plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on our main channel, plus something on Sunday over on TE Take 2. If you want more, the mighty algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but we think this one is one you should also check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving.